Welcome. It is that time, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. It is time for Ask Dr. Geier Live. Wherever you're watching, I hope you're making today your masterpiece. My name is Dr. David Geier, triple board certified orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, and media medical expert. I help you feel and perform your best regardless of age, injury, or really anything else, medical history or whatever else. I've left out anti-aging and regenerative medicine expert, but I say that all the time. Anyway, very excited to be here. If you're watching on YouTube, I would love for you to join us. Leave your comments in the chat, Facebook, Twitter. I'd love to hear from you as well. Please leave your name and where you're located. I always like to know where people are, especially on the days that most of the audience is not from the United States. That's always fun. I hope you're having a great early January so far. Those of you that stuck to New Year's resolutions or set New Year's resolutions, I hope you're sticking to them. I have talked a little bit on social media, but not that much because I am not a huge social media person other than live shows on YouTube, that I'm doing 75 hard right now. I am on day 20. It has not been as hard to do as I expected, but physically the workouts I'm choosing to do are absolutely beating me up. So I've got to kind of come to some figure something along those lines out, and maybe it'll be some of the treatments that we talk about in this show. As always, please remember that hello, good to see you, and I am good other than I hurt my back in the gym today, and so I'm a little uncomfortable, but other than that, I'm excited, looking forward to an amazing weekend, and I hope you're doing well too. Remember, if you do have any medical questions, I am not giving you medical advice. I am giving you information for educational purposes only. I am not your doctor, you're not my patient, I haven't seen you, examined you, any of that, so none of this is medical advice. It is meant for you to understand what your doctor or orthopedic surgeon told you, or to give you an idea of maybe what to ask your doctor or orthopedic surgeon so that you can make the best decision for you. And as always, every Friday, I will stay as long as there are questions. Sometimes that's one or two, sometimes that'll go for half an hour. So yeah, it is what it is. All right. And I don't know your name, so I'm just going to go by your username. Picklop says, in 2014, broke my right elbow and I recovered, but 2023, went to the doctor. Hang on. With arm and elbow pain. All right, tell me a little bit more. I would love to. There's a couple things as he or she fills that in. Fractures around the elbow can be not such a big deal, or they can be a really, really, really big deal. Let me show you why. And used to do arm wrestling. That is very cool. You may be the first arm wrestling injury or person that I have ever had, and lifting weights. All right, so here's the thing about elbow injuries. Very often, and I don't know how well this shows it, this is humerus, your arm bone, two forearm bones down here. See if you can see that. And a lot of times what people break is what's called the olecranon process, the end of the ulna. That's the tip of your elbow right there. That pretty much always needs surgery, either with a tension band wire or a screw, plus or minus a wire. But that does very well, doesn't lead to any long-term problems. Where you get into issues, though, are if you break sort of on the end of the humerus. A distal humerus fracture, a supracondylar humerus fracture is particularly bad because those can, one, be a little bit of a struggle to heal, two, lead to a lot of elbow stiffness immediately, months later, and then obviously down the road if you don't get it back, and three, be at fairly high risk for arthritis. So as far as being able to tell you what the elbow pain might be coming from, it really depends on, one, where that fracture was around the elbow, and two, what the elbow looks like now on x-rays. I hope that helps. If you have any more information, definitely send that my way. Jamie, it is good to see you. I think I haven't seen you in a couple episodes, but very happy you're here. Memoria, good morning. It's almost after time. She says zigzag kind of thing. I would imagine that was on the distal humerus, but I don't know. Alzey, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Orthopedic doctor said I'd never do arm wrestling again with my right arm, leave weightlifting. And then should I quit? Again, it's hard for me to say, one, just because I'm not giving medical advice. Two, I still don't know what the situation is now, where the fracture was, what the issues are. So I really can't say if it's something that somebody could get back to arm wrestling or certainly get back to weightlifting. My philosophy is to try to get people back to what they love to do. And that's why I've pivoted a little bit more towards what I call anti-aging orthopedics and regenerative orthopedics to help people avoid surgery, number one, but to get them back to what they love to do. So I try to get people back to running. I try to get people back to playing tennis if that's what they love to do, or pickleball. In your case, it would be arm wrestling and lifting weights. And I am very, very sympathetic to the lifting weights argument. As somebody that does that 6 out of 7 days a week, I would be miserable if I couldn't lift weights. That's part of the issue when I hurt my back this morning is I really don't want to take time off in the gym, ignoring the 75 hard program. So believe me, I get that. All right, Jamie, what is bursitis? Because I'm having surgery March 7th right by my collarbone. So I'm curious what type of surgery that is. Let me get my shoulder model here. Bursitis, typically what they're talking about is, so if you're looking at the shoulder, this is the ball of the ball and socket joint. You can't really see the socket because these muscle and tendons in the model are covering it. But to prevent friction, allegedly, between these rotator cuff tendons here and the tip of your shoulder blade there, what's called the acromion, there is a bursa called the subacromial bursa that in theory can get inflamed. And typically, the broader term of that is what's called shoulder impingement. The theory, especially a long time ago, being as you went through a range of motion, if that was inflamed and the rotator cuff tendons had inflammation, tendonitis, they would pinch under this acromion and cause pain. That's been refuted a little bit. Typically, if you go in and do what's called a subacromial decompression and look at the rotator cuff, the problems with the rotator cuff, there's probably way more than you want to know, but are not on this side of the rotator cuff tendons where they would theoretically pinch against the acromion. They're on the underside. So it probably has nothing to do with impingement and it's more of an intrinsic tendinopathy. We've really gotten away from, and again, I don't know if this is the surgery you're having or not, but we've gotten away from going in and scoping the shoulder and cleaning out tendonitis and bursitis. One, because people almost never need it. You can almost always get people better without it. And two, it doesn't typically help that much. Now, sometimes you end up finding more damage and then you end up having to do a formal rotator cuff repair or something like that. But again, that was a surgery when I was in training, was done fairly frequently. It's not done that much anymore. But again, there may be more to the story that Jamie's talking about. Oh, you're very welcome. I hope that was helpful. And let's see, Kate, 43. I appreciate you putting your first name in there, Kate. It just helps me to kind of know who people are. Athletic, healthy, 3.5 months post-overuse injury from a new running regimen, hills and slopes. Main issues have vastly improved via self-care. There must be more to this. I'm dealing with fleeting, excruciating, dull, achy pain primarily at night on both sides through the calves, ankle areas, and bottom of the feet. Why this dull, achy, fleeting pain? That one's hard, and I would love to give you a better sense, but without being able to examine you, it's hard to say. I will say, when you come up with leg pain, especially in runners, there's a few things you typically think of. One, shin splints, and I don't know in your case because again, being able to localize it by talking to you and doing an exam, but shin splints, which is a little bit more of a diffuse pain up and down the leg along the tibia, the shin bone. You could think of potentially a stress fracture, a tibial stress fracture, which would be a much more serious issue with leg pain, typically much more localized pain rather than diffuse up and down the leg. You could think of something like a chronic exertional compartment syndrome, which is where the muscles in the leg swell. Usually this is during running, not after, and then because the fascial compartments, the fascial tissue that holds those into different compartments is fairly rigid, so the muscles can't expand nearly as much as they want to, and then that presses on the nerves and blood vessels and very often actually ends up needing surgery. That's actually surprisingly common in the military and in runners, especially younger runners, and so that typically can be a problem. Typically the symptoms there are it almost feels like your leg is a balloon wanting to pop while you're running, but it typically gets better as you stop running. It's not something that goes on later at night. So I wish I could give you a better answer for that. That's kind of my thought. She says perineal muscle. So yeah, I mean it could be a lateral compartment where the perineal muscles are. Again, I might go see either an orthopedic surgeon that does sports medicine or potentially go see a physical therapist if you live somewhere that is a state that has direct access where you can go directly to physical therapy without seeing a doctor and getting a prescription first. That could be a good option as well. Precursor to NAD, eat B complex instead of NMN, what dose? So one, I don't do doses because I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not going to weigh in on the NMN debate. That's really popular now for longevity. It's what's called an NAD precursor, as Lee says, nicotinamide mononucleotide. There's some pros and cons, and there's in my world, the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, A4M, there are some people that are starting to think there may be more downsides to NMN than upsides. You're right, you could do niacin as an early precursor down that pathway to make NAD. There are some issues with niacin. It tends to cause a flushing reaction. I've taken niacin in the past. I hate it. You eventually get a little bit better with it, but then just some days you get a horrible flushing and itching and redness, and it's pretty miserable for an hour. So it's not for everybody. Honestly, it's somewhat dose related, but still, so that would be something. But the verdict and the jury is still out about NMN. I know David Sinclair up at Harvard is working on that. I hope they get more human data on it. I think that will be very helpful. Right now it's mostly animal data. It's exciting, but I don't know. Let's just put it this way. I don't take it, and I am all about anti-aging, all sorts of anti-aging medicine and orthopedics. Maybe I will at some point. I have friends that take it. I just don't personally. All right. Sharma. Well, why is this not popping up on the screen? I may just have to read yours, Sharma. There we go. You told me re-surgery, no movement of the knee, distal femur, comminuted fracture, gain 95, even knee was stiff. I honestly don't remember this at all. So comminuted fracture of the distal femur. Yeah, I'm not sure. Feel free to, there may be a question. I don't know. Tell me what your question was. Anti-aging supplements that I take regularly. Again, this is not medical advice, so I will give thoughts. I don't know that there's necessarily anti-aging supplements that I take on a regular basis. Most of the supplements are just for good overall health. And again, not telling people what to do. On a regular basis, I take epigallocatechans that are in a green tea supplement, that very good anti-inflammatory, but probably much more effective than something like ibuprofen or naproxen. Curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric. There's just not enough curcumin in turmeric, so you'd have to take way too much turmeric. So that as a supplement works well. Omega-3 fatty acids, very anti-inflammatory, also have heart benefits. Magnesium, vitamin D. Take some other supplements, but those are from a musculoskeletal standpoint. Having said that, I know some of the things people will do are things like rapamycin, things like metformin, which neither of those are supplements, but thought to be helpful for different reasons in the anti-aging world. There's talk that semaglutide, the peptide that is becoming so popular for weight loss, may also have anti-aging properties and help prevent some of the age-related diseases. So there's a lot out there. There's still the jury's still out on exactly what the right protocols are. I think we're getting closer to that, but probably still something that's going to evolve over the months and years as we go forward. Can I get in, or should you get into arm wrestling if you had a supracondylar fracture? I don't know. That, again, not medical advice. If it healed and you don't have any issues with it, then I have no issues with arm wrestling. But again, I don't know. That would be a better question for whoever sees your x-rays. All right, that is all it looks like question-wise. Good questions today. If you'd like to come see me as a patient in Charleston, South Carolina, and I get 2 or 3 people that reach out to me every day, I would love to see you here. Probably a third of my patients are not from here. They fly in at least for their initial visit. I am happy to do that. The information, the link to my website, drdavidgeier.com, is in the description below this video. Click that, go to the contact page, fill that out, and my assistant and I will work on helping you set that up. Very, very thankful that you are here. I will be here next Friday, so definitely join us for that. And you are so welcome. I hope that helped a little bit. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I look forward to seeing you next Friday for Ask Dr. Geier Live. Have a fantastic weekend.